and welcome to the SciFirst MovieTalk episode. So in this episode, I'll be discussing the 2016 animated video game adaptation that is the Angry Birds movie, as directed by Kaytis and Fergal Reilly, and of course, based on the popular Romeo entertainment gaming series, Angry Birds. So, for those of you that aren't familiar with the game, the premise is quite simple, really. There are these pigs who are looking to steal your eggs. You have a series of different birds, each with their unique abilities, that you have to strategically slingshot across the screen in order to remove the piggies who have taken up residence in your area. It is actually quite addictive, as it requires an amount of skill and quite a bit of perseverance in order to get your shot just right. And many levels can take a number of frustrating hours to complete. The film was, of course, produced to capitalise on the popularity of the game, albeit quite some time following the last release of the game, I think, to be fair. For an adaptation, that is. Although, even to this day, the game really does remain a firm favourite amongst many due to its casual gameplay style and simple yet addictive gameplay, The film actually takes the premise of the game and seeks to provide us with the answer to the question that we had all been asking. What made these birds so angry, We meet Red, as voiced by Jason Sudeikis, an outsider in a community of peace-loving and tranquil birds. Red has anger issues, and upon upsetting the balance in the bird's quaint little community, after completely ruining a young bird's birthday, and forever imprinting himself as the family's new hatchling's father, he is ordered to attend court-mandated anger management classes. Whilst there, he meets fellow Angry Birds, Chuck, as voiced by Josh Gad, the yellow bird in the game, Bomb, as voiced by Danny McBride, and Terence, as voiced by Sean Penn. Each with their own issues, if you like, and indeed, a special skill set. But Red isn't the bird, Red isn't the Bird Island's only problem. Unbeknowing, the island residents fall for a band of piggy explorers who turn on the charm when they arrive at the island. Only Red thinks they're up to no good. Shame the rest of the birds don't believe. Lo and behold, as the birds are otherwise engaged one evening, the pigs steal their eggs and hoof it back to Piggy Island, intent on having a feast with their ill-gotten gains. Once the birds find out, this makes them angry, and look to the angriest among them, Red, to lead the mission to Piggy Island and rescue their beloved young before the pigs have a chance to polish up the silverware. So, going into this film, I was fairly apprehensive. I had heard some pretty poor reviews, and to be honest, I liked the game. Don't get me wrong, but I did kind of fail to see how anybody could really make a movie out of it, Now, I would say that, okay, it is a bit thin on the ground when all's said and done, but overall, as a family, we really did enjoy this, We had an excellent time with it, if I'm honest. It was extremely bright, colourful, very vibrant, and to be fair, was about all you could ask from a game where you slingshot birds at clusters of pigs. It isn't a fantastic film. Its plot is fairly thin when all's told. It draws inspiration from the game and doesn't really waver from that premise. In some respects, it is actually one of the truest game adaptations I've actually seen. But it does mean that a lot of the film, especially the first half, really does seem like filler when all's said and done, I mean, it labours quite a bit on Red being angry, and then labours on it some more. When in actual fact, I appreciate that they were trying to give us an origin story here, but really? Did we require one? I mean, the birds are angry. Angry birds! The pigs steal the eggs. I don't think anybody who didn't know of the game couldn't have really picked up that premise, within the first 5 minutes if it was kind of presented in the right way. There is perhaps, all told, I would suggest about 30 minutes worth of a cartoon here. Basically, that's really what this tantamounts to being. A stretched Looney Tunes episode, if you like, but without as much pizzazz. but still with a kind of energy and that makes the whole experience fairly fun. When the movie does really kind of get going, it really does take some of the best elements of the game, its playstyle and even its soundtrack. Not only that, but it also takes from the spin-off game, I think, Bad Piggies, which sees the user having to help the pigs achieve goals by building contraptions. And indeed, it was great to see some of these contraptions designed by the pigs at work in the movie. The way that they kind of set up the battle between the birds and the pigs is absolutely spot on for my money. They use the slingshot like the game, but not only that, the way that they actually position it and like, you know, like the way we have to do in the game. And then the way that the birds blast into piggy buildings is simply fantastic. And this, for me, was indeed the highlight of the movie. I mean, the pigs are totally on point, full of contraptions and sneaky deeds, just as they should be, and indeed as they are in Bad Piggies. For one, the film doesn't make no reference to the Bad Piggies game. If you look it up, it's more like a contraption building game. It doesn't have anything to do with Angry Birds. So obviously the film is about the Angry Birds, but the game Bad Piggies takes the life of the piggies a little bit further, and I think the film, for my money, does actually touch on that, you know? But the movie is chock full of cheesy gags. However, most of the jokes do seem somewhat misplaced. A few were quite close to the mark given context. To be honest, the best bits of humour, by far, are mostly confined to the trailer. I think it tries to offer something for adults in respect to this, but doesn't quite hit the mark, you know? However, I'm sure it will resonate a whole lot more with younger viewers, you know? Oliver, our son, did actually walk out the cinema when this first came out. I mean, he was only about 3, I think, at the time. But the reason, so don't get me wrong, it was nothing to do with the film. He had a Sonic moment, shall we say. So the reason, the Angry Birds were just too fluffy. Yeah, but I'm happy to report that on a second watching, he absolutely loved it. And indeed, they might be a bit on the soft side in terms of their appearance for him. Not quite the jagged edge style that is used in the game. But I think it works well, and he did enjoy it the second time around, you know? And I think the animation all around is pretty decent, all told, for what it is. And indeed, as that battle commences, there are a few changes as the birds were kind of catapulted across into the piggy realm. That kind of corrected some of that, you know? As the birds kind of become all that they were meant to be, and as angry as they could be. Overall, as a family movie, this was a fantastic experience. And that I wasn't expecting, to be quite fair. It was one of... it wasn't one of the best animated movies that I've ever seen. And really only had about 30 minutes of substance when all's said and done. But it was still extremely enjoyable for what it was. And it wasn't a bag of pants like I expected it to be. It was what it was. It did not set out to be anything more than what it was. For me, I actually thought that it did a decent job at bringing the beloved game onto the big screen. It was a bit thin on the plot, but it stuck to the premise, you know, and in that I found it quite charming. We didn't have an overly lavish or outlandish plot. Everything was kept simple and fairly small scale, but with enough scope to keep it effective. If you think you've enjoyed the game at some point, then I think you will get a rise out of this movie. If you thought the game was a bit pointless, then, well, to be fair, I would suggest that you'll find that about the movie too, you know? The kids will love it, though. So, that brings me to the end of this episode. Many thanks for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please leave a like. Please do hit that subscribe button for more movie reviews, trailer reactions, and other movie-related content. Absolutely loved having here at SciFirst MovieTalk, and definitely love to have you back. But most of all, just thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.